It started like too many stories do. An elderly black man sits alone on a park bench in the shade of a sprawling oak, a paperback novel in one hand, a folded newspaper in the other. His name is James Holloway, mid-70s, quiet, dignified, dressed in a pressed collared shirt, slacks and worn but polished shoes. He looks like someone's grandfather, because he is. But to the two uniformed officers who approach him, he looks like something else entirely. "Hey, sir," the taller one shouts before he even gets close. "You can't be loitering here." James looks up, puzzled. "I'm not loitering, I'm reading." The second officer, shorter, with a smirk already forming, steps in closer. "We got a call about a suspicious individual. That you?" James closes his book slowly. "I've been coming to this park every morning for 10 years. Just reading, drinking my coffee. I'm not suspicious, I'm a citizen." But that's not enough. They ask for ID. He gives it. They ask what he's doing in the neighborhood. He tells them. They ask again, as if trying to catch him slipping, as if truth isn't believable coming from his mouth. People start to notice. A jogger slows. A mother holding her toddler watches from the playground. Tension thickens in the summer air. The taller officer waves the ID in front of James's face. "This expired last year." You know what that means, right? James sighs, patient but visibly strained. "It means I need to renew it. Not that I need to be harassed." Wrong word. The short officer steps in. "Don't get smart with us, old man. You think you're better than the law?" "I think the law should be better than this," James replies calmly. The taller cop moves in. "Stand up. We need to search you." James blinks. "For what?" "Just stand up." He doesn't move. He's not resisting. He's standing his ground. But even still, they grab him by the arms, rougher than necessary. Gasps ripple from bystanders. "Hey!" a voice yells. A teenager with a phone is recording. "He didn't do anything." The taller cop turns. "Back off, keep recording and you'll get the same treatment." But more phones are out now. A dog walker, a couple eating lunch, an older white man with a veteran's cap. One by one they watch. They don't intervene, but they watch. That's new. That matters. James, now standing, breathes in deep, trying to stay steady. "You're humiliating me for no reason. I have rights." The short cop chuckles. "Sure. And I have a yacht in Malibu." They start to pat him down. A little girl nearby starts to cry. Her mum gently shushes her, eyes locked on the scene. Two middle-aged women whisper to each other, visibly angry, but unsure what to do. Then, a black SUV pulls up fast on the curb. The door flies open. A woman steps out. Tailored navy blue suit, determined walk. She's in her 40s, strong posture, eyes like steel. The air shifts. One of the bystanders whispers, "That's the mayor, Mayor Holloway." The officers freeze. She marches right up to them. "What's going on here?" The taller cop tries to explain. "We got a call about—" She cuts him off. "You got a call about a black man sitting on a bench and you dragged him up and put your hands on him." The short one shrinks. He didn't have valid ID. She glances at the ID in his hand. "That man is my father." Silence, thick and heavy. A collective exhale from the crowd. The phones keep recording. Mayor Holloway steps beside her father. "You will remove your hands from him now." The hands vanish. James exhales finally, quietly. He doesn't say, "I told you so." He doesn't need to. The mayor turns to the crowd. "Did anyone here witness this? Please make sure those videos are saved. You may be hearing from the city attorney." More silence from the cops. She turns to them. "I want your badge numbers, now." They give them. Then she puts her hand on her father's shoulder. "You okay?" James nods. "I've seen worse, but this one stings." She helps him sit back down. The crowd slowly disperses, whispers replacing shouts. And one by one, people start coming up to him, apologizing, thanking him, saying things they should have said sooner, saying things too many never get the chance to hear. But the story doesn't just stop there. Inside City Hall later that day, Mayor Holloway walks into a press briefing room filled with reporters. Flashes go off, microphones extend. She speaks with no notes, no teleprompter, This morning my father, a retired teacher, a Vietnam veteran and a respected member of our community, was harassed by two officers sworn to protect and serve. This wasn't an isolated incident. This is part of a pattern, and it ends now. She pauses, lets it sink in. Effective immediately, those officers are suspended. An independent investigation is underway, and new anti-profiling training is being implemented across the department. Back at the park, yellow flowers now sit on the bench where James reads each morning. Some are from strangers, others from former students. There's a note taped to the backrest. "We see you now, thank you." Meanwhile, social media explodes. Videos of the incident go viral. People argue, people cheer, people reflect. James doesn't speak publicly. Not yet. He doesn't need to. His daughter's voice echoes loud enough. But inside his small home, he sits in the evening light, watching the sunset through the blinds. He opens his book again, flips past the page he was on that morning. But he doesn't read. He just sits, still, strong, waiting. Because this isn't over. This was just the moment the world got a glimpse of what he's carried quietly for decades. And now the world has to face it. Where are you watching from? Drop your city in the comments below. And if you're with us, if this hit you the way it hit us, hit subscribe, stick around, this story isn't done. The day after the confrontation at the park, the media buzzes with outrage, debates and condemnations. News outlets run the footage of James Holloway being manhandled by the police officers, followed by the shocking revelation of his daughter's identity as the mayor. It's the kind of story that people can't stop talking about, how one man's quiet dignity became a symbol for something much bigger. But for James, it's not about the cameras or the headlines. It's about the truth. The truth he's known for a long time, and the truth that others are only beginning to face. In the stillness of his living room, he watches the news unfold, his hands folded neatly in his lap. His daughter, Mayor Holloway, had insisted on a public response. A press conference was scheduled, and the city would have its reckoning. But James wasn't ready to step into the spotlight yet. He wasn't ready to talk about what had happened, at least not on his terms. It's a quiet Sunday morning when the call comes. The mayor's office. A familiar voice, calm and steady. It's her assistant, Carla. "Mayor Holloway would like to speak with you, now," Carla says, a hint of urgency in her tone. James doesn't hesitate. "I'll be there in 30. City Hall is a stark contrast to the park. The marble floors gleam beneath the bright lights, and the air feels colder inside the walls of power. James steps off the elevator and walks down the long corridor. His shoes tap lightly on the floor with each measured step, his gaze straight ahead. He doesn't look up as he approaches the mayor's office door. Carla opens it before he can knock, and Mayor Holloway is standing by the window. Her suit is the same one she wore yesterday, still as sharp as ever. She turns as he enters, her face softening slightly at the sight of her father. "How are you feeling?" she asks, her voice quiet. James doesn't answer right away. He looks out at the skyline of the city from the large window. "The same," he finally says, "like I've always felt." "Which is?" "Like I'm invisible until I'm needed, or until they need a reason to remind me I'm not supposed to be here." The mayor takes a deep breath, her jaw tightening as if she's trying to control a rising tide of anger. She walks over to him, placing a hand on his shoulder. "That's not going to happen anymore, Dad. I promise you that." James looks at her then, his eyes soft but piercing. "You're doing your part, sweetheart, but you know as well as I do that the fight is bigger than just you and me." She nods slowly, understanding. "I know. But this isn't over. We have to keep pushing." He gives a small, rueful smile. "For years I've been pushing just to stay alive. Now it's your turn. Make sure they know the difference between a man who's survived and one who's been broken." Before she can respond, her phone buzzes on the desk. She checks the screen and frowns. "It's the press. They want a statement from you. They're asking for your perspective on the situation." James glances at her, almost amused. "The press wants to hear from me. You've got the city in your hands, but now they care about what I think." Mayor Holloway smiles faintly. "They'll care more once they know the truth. But it's your choice, Dad. You've always been a private man." He stands up, finally meeting her gaze fully. Maybe it's time for the world to see what I've known all along. The press conference is held in the Grand Hall, the same room where city officials make their boldest declarations. The room is packed with reporters, cameras flashing, microphones reaching across the table. At the front, Mayor Holloway stands confidently at the podium. James is seated beside her, his presence steady, unwavering. The mayor begins with her prepared statement, outlining the events from the previous day. She doesn't mince words about the officer's actions or the city's commitment to ending racial profiling and excessive force. But it's what she says next that sends a shockwave through the room. And today, she continues, her voice rising with purpose, I am proud to stand beside my father, a man who has dedicated his life to serving this city, not as a politician, but as a citizen. A man who taught for decades, who fought for this country, and who has lived through decades of injustice that many of us will never fully understand. The reporter's eyes shift between father and daughter. I want you all to know that this is not a one-time issue, Mayor Holloway says. This is not a blip on the radar. My father's experience is not isolated. It is part of a larger problem that we all need to face together, and the time for change is now. She pauses, glancing over at James. Please, speak, Dad, she says gently, nodding toward him. The room goes silent. James stands slowly, his knees creaking just slightly. He doesn't take the microphone, but instead addresses the room in a voice that carries without effort. You want to know what I think? He asks, his voice steady and clear. I think I've been fighting this fight my whole life, but I've been fighting it alone. For a long time I believed it didn't matter, that my voice didn't matter. I kept my head down and did what I had to do to survive. I didn't make waves. His eyes sweep the room. But you can only be invisible for so long before they start treating you like you don't exist. And the truth is, I've been treated that way by more people than I care to count. He turns to look directly at the cameras. But I'm not invisible anymore, and neither is my daughter. She's not just the mayor. She's my daughter, and she's going to make sure that what happened to me doesn't happen to anyone else in this city. The room is still for a beat. Then the murmurs begin. The reporters whisper among themselves, some clearly taken aback by his words. James continues, I've lived through more than most people can imagine. But what happened to me yesterday, that wasn't just a random event. That's what happens when people stop caring about the truth. It's what happens when people stop seeing you as human. He stops for a moment, taking a deep breath. And that's why I'm here today, to remind you that what's happening in this city and in this country is real. And it's not over. The cameras click, the flashes dim, but the weight of his words hangs in the air. The press conference ends with the same heavy silence. The reporters are left to digest what they've heard. The crowd outside begins to gather. James and his daughter stand together side by side, but their unity isn't just in the strength they draw from one another. It's the message they've just sent. They've had their moment in the light. Now it's time to make sure the light doesn't fade. The park, now a symbol of the fight for justice, sees James sitting there once again just as he did the day before. The same book rests on his lap, but this time the air feels different. The benches are filled with people, some familiar, some new, people of all ages, black, white, Latino, Asian. They've come to stand beside him, to stand beside the truth, and in the distance, a new sense of hope begins to spread, because change starts with one voice, and today that voice was heard.